Thank you for standing by, and welcome to the LBT Innovations Quarterly Investor Call. All participants are in a listen-only mode, so be rest assured that nobody else on the call will be able to see or hear you. There'll be a presentation followed by a question and answer session that I will announce at the end of the presentation. To ask a question, please use the Q&A box on the Zoom control panel, or feel free to raise your hand to ask a question in person. An audio recording of this call will be made available on the company's website later today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Brent Barnes, CEO and Managing Director.
Thank you, Jack. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining today's quarterly investor call. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Rebecca Wilson to the call. Rebecca joined us at the start of July, replacing Joanne Moss as chair of the company. I've known Rebecca for a number of years. She's extremely well regarded in the industry and brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the company. Rebecca has over 25 years of experience in the medtech sector, both as an advisor, where she built a successful investor communication business, and in her non-executive career, where she currently is chair of ASX-listed Alcidion Group. I'm pleased to have Rebecca join today's call to address shareholders directly and answer any questions. In terms of format, I'll start by providing an overview of the company's performance for the quarter. I'll then hand over to Rebecca, who will provide some comments on her first month as chair. We'll then have the usual financial update from Ray, future outlook, followed by some question and answers. Now I'd like to introduce our Chief Financial Officer, Ray Ridge, who'll go through some of the formalities before we start today's call.
Thanks, Brent. I'd like to remind those on the call that today's update may contain forward-looking statements, which do involve inherent risks and uncertainties. Those risks and uncertainties include those disclosed in our ASX lodgements, which we recommend that you review. There are reasonable grounds for any forward-looking statements made today. However, due to their inherent uncertainties, we recommend that you do not place undue reliance on those statements, and actual results, of course, may differ materially from those forward-looking statements. We're now ready to go back to you, Brent.
Thank you, Ray. Look, I'd like to start today's update by talking about our progress in the pharmaceutical market. This is a new segment for the company, and the initial response from customers has been hugely positive and points to a different market dynamic compared to what we've experienced in the clinical market. Product development for this market segment is critical for near-term cash inflows for the company through our partnership with AstraZeneca, and is a growth driver for future sales. For the last 6 months, we've focused our internal resources on executing the APAS Pharma QC project with AstraZeneca as our #1 development priority. I'm pleased to report this project is progressing on schedule. In April, we installed an APAS instrument to an AstraZeneca manufacturing site in the UK, which has enabled us to collect data captured during their routine manufacturing process. This has been a particularly important step in the project, as we have assessed the performance of the technology under real-world conditions for the first time. We expect to have results from this available to share in the near future, but from the initial readouts, I can say it looks extremely positive. We do expect to formally release these results as soon as we can, and importantly, share these results at customer trade shows later in the year. This project has enabled us to successfully meet contract payment milestones for the project, and the feedback from AstraZeneca stakeholders is extremely positive, with plans being made to begin rollout of the technology across their production sites next year once validation is completed at their UK primary site. Our business development activities are also laser focused, and we are actively beginning discussions with new potential customers. Having AstraZeneca in our corner as a development partner is a huge benefit and immediately builds trust in the technology. My observations from these discussions have highlighted a different and improved customer response compared to the clinical market. Firstly, customers have dedicated teams looking for new technologies that enable them to improve their microbiology practices. Our APAS Pharma QC product fits their objectives, providing standardization through automation and improved traceability of results through digital image capture. Secondly, customers want to scale solutions that can be deployed across multiple manufacturing sites to standardized processes. This second point is really important and points towards a faster rate of growth as APAS instruments are deployed across multiple manufacturing sites within a single customer. I've referred this previously as a land and expand strategy for sales. In the clinical market, we reported sales conversion to be slower than expected. The feedback we are receiving from customers is that budgets are tight and hospital administrations are placing restrictions on capital equipment purchases. This is further delaying an already long sales cycle. We are working hard with our distribution partner, Thermo Fisher, to build strategies to overcome these hurdles, introducing new financing options for procurement and targeting larger reference groups that are not restricted by hospital administration budgets. These initiatives will still take some time to flow through to product sales, but we do believe these options will help improve our sales traction over the coming 6 to 12 months. From a marketing perspective, Thermo Fisher remain highly engaged and continue to actively promote the product. During the quarter, we had the APAS independents on display on Thermo Fisher's booth at the 2 largest clinical microbiology conferences of the year, one each in the US and Europe. At each conference, we published new clinical data, and Thermo Fisher sponsored symposiums where APAS users shared their experiences with the technology. In Europe, we finalized the CE mark for our urine analysis module under the new in vitro diagnostic regulations. This supports our sales effort in the region and means we now have our urine and MRSA analysis modules cleared for sale in each of our target markets. Finally, on Friday, we announced an impairment of our intangible assets relating to the APAS technology. The decision to write down was based on our slower than expected sales performance in the clinical market, and with the current market conditions, the company and board believed it was appropriate to take a conservative approach and write down the full value of the assets. Importantly, this is a non-cash transaction, which serves to clean up our balance sheet. As a company, we remain cautiously optimistic for sales in the clinical market and continue to work proactively with our partner, Thermo Fisher, to improve sales execution. We are also extremely encouraged by the opportunity that exists for the company in the pharmaceutical market, as described in updates over the last 6 months. It's with pleasure to introduce our new chair, Rebecca Wilson, and I'll hand it over to you now, Rebecca.
Thanks so much, Brent, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. I'm actually doing this call from Boston, so it's evening here for me. I'm over here with the Canaccord Growth Conference, and it's actually great to see a handful of Australian companies over here and the type of reception that they're getting from US investors. So certainly I hope that that is a sign of improved sentiment for our entire industry. As Brent mentioned, I've been working in the medtech and broader healthcare industry for the better part of 3 decades. And during that time, I've really been exposed to the many hundreds of aspirational companies during that time, and had the privilege of advising the boards and management teams of many of these. And in many respects, that time has served as part of my due diligence when assessing the opportunity to join the LBT board as chair. I really do see that LBT is at an intersection and has the opportunity to move into a new phase of commercial activation. And it's an intersection that can be really uncomfortable at times, where the speed of that execution is not always aligned with ours or your expectations. But I've been here before. When I joined Alcidion as chair, we had $4 million of revenue, a best of breed technology, but also a need to pivot the strategy from technology to market execution. And today, Alcidion is generating in excess of $40 million in revenue, growing at more than 20% annually, and is cash flow positive. So, I've always been deeply embedded in the scientific instrumentation industry as well. And over the last 2 years, I've worked specifically within the automation and laboratory workflow sectors, and can really understand the value and benefits, but also the challenges in rapidly building market share in this particular sector. So I really see the synergies between these experiences and the opportunity at LBT. We have a best-in-class technology that has surpassed the product concept stage, and it's made significant strides in transitioning from innovation to commercial activation in two important global industry sectors with top-tier partners. And it's through this lens that I considered where I could add value in guiding the company into the next stage of its commercialisation. There's certainly been no easing into the role, and we're working really hard as a board to support Brent to set a strategy that can enable accelerated progress this coming year. I've spent this last 5 weeks getting to know the LBT team, our market opportunity, and I've spoken to many of our shareholders, many of whom are on the call today, to really understand your frustrations and also your hopes for our company. And I'm quickly focusing on and prioritising the most critical elements to address that are slowing our opportunities down. Now, I really think that declaring our transition from product development to commercial activation is a vital step. It not only sets the right intent and internal focus, but also aligns shareholder expectations regarding our short, medium, and long-term opportunities. I welcome and encourage your contact and intend to actively participate in these types of forums in the future. So with that, I'll pass over to Ray to take us through the financials for the quarter.
Thanks, Rebecca, and good morning all. I will now provide an overview of the financial results as reported in our Appendix 4C lodged with the ASX. These numbers are all in Australian dollars, and in accordance with ASX listing rules, they are not audited. So for the quarter ended 30 June 2023, LBT reported net cash outflows of $1 million, comprising net cash outflows from operating and investing activities of $0.9 million, which included receipts of $0.6 million from customers. And we had net cash outflows from financing activities of just $0.1 million, noting that the South Australian government granted a deferral of the usual quarterly loan payment of $0.25 million. So LBT finished the quarter with a consolidated cash balance of $2 million. Pleasingly, that means for the year, LBT used net cash of just $1.6 million for operating and investing activities. That compares to $6.2 million in the 2022 financial year. This improvement was driven by a focus on adding new sources of revenue through funded development agreements for APAS Pharma, such as AstraZeneca and Thermo Fisher, cost reduction measures to right-size the operations of the business, reducing total headcount by a third over the past 18 months, and improved receipts from customers. In addition to the $2 million cash we have at the end of the quarter, the company does expect to receive the F23 Research and Development Tax Incentive in this quarter coming, as we've expedited the lodgement of our claim, together with continued funding for the APAS Pharma development and receipts from instrument sales and debtors at the end of the quarter. Back to you, Brent.
Thank you, Ray. Look, from an outlook perspective, the company has a clear and firm focus on commercial activation in both the clinical and pharmaceutical markets. In clinical, we are committed to working closely with Thermo Fisher and have in place a number of initiatives aimed at improving our current sales outlook. Together, we have built a solid sales pipeline with over 110 qualified leads and 20 plus advanced opportunities, and we do expect to make steady progress in this market. In the near term, we are in the process of completing an installation of an APAS instrument for evaluation by a major reference laboratory group and continue to work through the sales process, focusing clearly on near-term opportunities where budget exists for purchase. In the pharma market, our focus is on finalising the product development under our agreement with AstraZeneca and meeting contract milestones through this process. We're in the final development stages of the technology and are commencing a program of validation with AstraZeneca. This will include studies completed both internally at LBT and separately by AstraZeneca to demonstrate the performance and safety of the device. As I mentioned earlier, we have completed our first assessment of APAS Pharma QC using real-world data from AstraZeneca's facilities, which we expect to announce in the near term. Our business development activities are growing in the pharma sector, and we'll be showcasing the technology for the first time at upcoming conferences in both the US and Europe later this year. We are looking forward to getting out there and speaking with more customers about what we are doing in this space. As we move forward, we see the pharma market being an increasingly important focus for the company and a major driver for future growth. This will be reflected in the updated company messaging over the coming months as we continue to grow within this sector. That concludes my future outlook. I'll now hand it over to Jack to facilitate any question and answers.